Yo, what is up, guys? MattWic here. We are back in NHL 25 with our realistic rebuild of the Calgary Flames. We had an interesting offseason after that stellar draft where we got those 6 medium elites. So let me show you the couple things that happened. Biggest thing, or second biggest thing I would say, was our coaching staff got upgraded. Sean Stu, what's his name? S. Livingston? Saul Livingston. Better call Saul. We added him to the team. I thought this was going to be a great coaching hire for us. Our last guy was like a B-, didn't have great teaching. And this guy here, I know the coach influence is a little bit low, but we'll see if we can get that up as we progress throughout the season. But A- teaching, which I think will be huge for the young team that we hope to have in a couple of years to help them grow throughout their journey in the NHL and the young players that we have currently on in the lines and in the system. But let's go ahead and take a look at the lines. Not a whole lot changed on that top unit. Nazem Kadri is a 90 overall. Sharon Govich, 88. Herberderp still sitting at an 86. We did add Jamie Benn to a one-year contract, $6.5 million. He was still there. Him and Kyle Palmieri are our two off-season acquisitions in terms of free agency. We did also have a trade once we got to the start of this season, but I'll show you guys that here in a second. But Kyle Palmieri and Jamie Benn come over to the team on one-year contracts just to hopefully add some veteran leadership to a somewhat of a young squad. I know we still got some guys. Coleman, our whole first line is kind of old. And then on defense, we have Mackenzie Weegar. Rasmus Anderson is no longer with the team, and I'll show you in a second. But I felt like just to have them on the team, we don't really have to care if we want to move them up or down the lineup. Coronado's still on that second line, so he can develop. Connor Zary in 85, which is very nice, so hopefully he can keep developing, maybe take over that first line center role. We shall see. And then Peltier down there on the third line, might move him up to the second line, but just want to give these two young guys some time to grow with a guy who scored, I think he had like 50, 60 points last season. Yeah, 52 points last season, so we'll see what he can do. Hopefully help those young guys grow. And same with Palmieri and Coleman down there for Peltier. Capo Caco, someone I want to get some more minutes, but it's just tough with this lineup the way it is right now, unless we move maybe like Jamie Benn down to the third line or fourth line, or maybe Palmieri down, but we'll see how they perform throughout the season. If we're losing, I'll just bump him up and give him more minutes, which we'll see there. But the biggest change that happened in the offseason, stumbling over my words here because I'm so excited to show you guys this. Like I said, Rasmus Anderson out, Thomas Harley in. So we got him, our boy from the Dallas Stars, who finished last in the NHL last season and had the first overall pick, but they did get an 81 overall medium franchise center. So they are looking to go for it this year. Their ownership group is pissed off, doesn't want to have a repeat of last year, so they added some age, a 90 overall defenseman, which was what Rasmus Anderson was for Thomas Harley, 24 years old. We also, I believe, picked up a second or third round pick too, so I'm very excited to see if we can get him to grow big time again. He looks primed for it. He's already got some great superstar abilities there. Have him on the top power play with Jamie Benn, and then our bottom six pairing here, Bottom six pairing here, Hunter Brustowicz and Topi Numela, who actually has kind of pissed me off. I had him as an RFA because he wanted a little bit more than I wanted to give him. But we ended up having to sign him because the Columbus Blue Jackets offer sheeted him 2 years, 1.84, which was a little expensive for my blood because I wanted to get him down a little bit, but we can't risk losing a guy like that, and we have a ton of cap space too, so it really wasn't a problem. But his stats look very good. Have him on the second power play, Jake Bean on that top unit, and then we'll see what they can do in terms of development. In the goal, we have our boy Dustin Wolf, 24 years of age, medium elite potential, 85 overall, and then I got Dan Vladar out of there and brought in Magnus Hellberg just because I want Wolf to be the solidified #1 starter. Don't want him switching time with anybody. Vladar was like an 81, 82 when he got out. Don't know if he was going to grow in the offseason, but didn't want to take the chance. So we got Big Magnum in there, 6'6", 220 pounds. He looks solid enough. Like I said, I'm not expecting to win this year. Popsel, Lomberg, and Pachal, they're scratched. In the AHL, we have Hanzik, who grew very nicely. He was a 70 overall at the start of last season, so 76 now, still only 20 years of age. Colby Barlow's ready to come up to the AHL, 20 years of age for him as well, 74 overall. Fred Connor, our medium franchise tease, who turned out to be a medium elite. I have him playing second line minutes right now. We'll see if that's a little bit too much for him, but for now, see if he can grow there with some other top talent in our system. Tanner Howe, former Penguins prospect. We did a 1-for-1 deal with Michael Backlund for him. So I was very happy with that deal. Could have gotten a little bit more from him, but the Penguins didn't want to give him up. Didn't really want Backlund. But at the end of the day, for the 1-for-1, they said, sure, why not? We need to try to win while Sid's here. So give us another old center to add to the cupboard. So good for them. Defensively, Poirier, 76 overall. We'll see what he can do. Kuznetsov, 23 years of age, 77. We'll see if he can get up to the NHL. And then we have Grishnikov and Morin down there to fill it out. In terms of goalies, our two young guys that we just drafted weren't ready to come up just yet, so we signed this guy, Arno Tiffany's. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's a tough name to pronounce. He looks like a mean motherfucker, though, so I might not want to get that name wrong. 23 years of age. What was he? A medium starter potential, so we'll see. Good guy to have in the system for the couple years while we wait for those other medium elite guys to get done playing in the Canadian hockey leagues. But guys, let's get into it. Don't really have too much more to go over. Let's get up to the part of the season where the coach asks us what we want to do and see what our potential for the years looks like. Here we go. Chat with the head coach, Saul Livingston. Let's take a look, see what he thinks the team's season goal looks like. What are your thoughts on the roster? There's some good kinks to work out, but this team is good enough to complete for a playoff spot. That was the goal for my team. Okay, let's do sure, we'll say make the playoffs, even though I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, we have a solid roster with a lot of young guys that could grow, so I mean, we'll see what he can do. Preseason, what do we want to focus on? We do have a young goaltender. We don't have a ton of our guys up just yet. I'm thinking about going 5v5 focused just for the first year to see how that goes, or possibly for the goalie focused to get Dustin Wolf up there, but I might want to wait off on that just a little bit. But it is a big thing that we could focus on. But I am going to go for the tried and true just for the first year. Then next year we'll do goalie focus or something else probably. But just for this year, because I don't think we're going to be a playoff team, I want to do the 5v5 focus just to get a couple of those younger guys, especially our defense that we have, that big awareness boost, especially for Thomas Harley too. We got to get him up to a 90 or 97 like we have him in the Testing the Draft franchise. So let's get into it. I'll do a couple months of the sim, see where we stand, and I'll bring you guys back in. Alright guys, and this is why I'm not going to use the 5v5 focus too much, because take a look at the changes to this roster now. So Huberdeau went up 1, Kadri 1, Sharangovich 1, Coronado unfortunately stayed the same. Did he get the boost? 89 offensive awareness for him as a sniper is not too bad, and he's got a pretty good shot, so I'm excited to see puck skills as well are up there. So I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. Only 22 years of age. Zari gets a 1 overall boost, 93 offensive awareness for him now. Even Jamie Benn got a boost, Palmieri got a boost, and Capo Caco down here gets 2 overall, so that's very nice to see. He has some great stats. He looks like a really good third liner, so maybe I swap him and Peltier around, or even Palmieri. Like I said, I'll do a little bit during the season, just move him around to make sure he gets some minutes. Same thing with like Palmieri, Peltier, and Caco. I'll probably switch those guys around just because Peltier and Caco, I really want to grow them as much as possible, especially with Palmieri only going to be here for 1 year, but I don't want to waste him on the fourth line. I want to help him, make him grow some of our other players. But check out the defense as well. Thomas Harley already up to an 89 overall, Uyghur to a 90, Bean to an 86, Balder an 83, and then our bottom pairing up to an 81. Goaltending obviously is going to stay the same, so we do take the little bit of a hit there that we don't get better goaltending, but I think this roster is actually pretty good for year 2, and then with our system of players that we now have in the AHL and just throughout the rest of the system in the Canadian leagues and whatnot unsigned, I think we are looking good for the future. But boys, let's get into some simulation, see how this team's looking. I really don't want this to be a short rebuild. I wanted it to be a long one, but I mean, I'm just the training god, I guess. What can I say? 2 months into the season here, and we are struggling to find our footing. 11, 10, and 3, which only puts us 1 point out of a playoff spot, 3 points out of the wild card spot. So it's not like the world or the sky is falling right now. So we still have a chance to get in there. We need to have a couple strong months though, and right now I'm just really not seeing it. I will say the first month we struggled mightily right out of the gate. We had 3 games against Chicago, so Connor Bedard really badusied us and put a smacking on us there, only taking 1 point in 3 games there, which hurts. Then we started to find it a little bit here in the second month, so we'll see now with some lighter competition if we're able to step up. But guys, let's take a look at these stats, because we got a big surprise down in the AHL. Starting with the NHL, you'll see that we are just struggling to find that one guy who can kind of just take over a game for us. We have a lot of players who are solid. I mean, putting up decent goal totals, 9 goals for Zari, Sharon Govich there with 7, Coronado there with 7, with 17 plus 1 as well, which is nice to see with him. But other than that, just no breakaway guys right now. We don't have that number one like McDavid, Bedard, Crosby, McKinnon, someone who could just take a game over for us right now. And we don't even have that like secondary piece really that can do kind of sort of those things. But that might be something that is on the horizon for us, because I went down to check the Calgary Wranglers, and what do I find but Fred Connor, our medium elite, medium franchise tease, 17 goals in 17 games. And if you'll remember, he was playing on the second line. He's scoring at a 27% clip right now, which is absolutely insane. You got to think it's going to come down to earth at some point, but I did bump him up to the first line. I also bumped him up to the first power play line. I didn't know how an 18-year-old 67 overall would play down in the AHL, but good God, it's paying off that I put some faith in him. So hopefully this will get him to develop quickly. I can't remember if I set a goal for him or what it was. I thought you'd be able to check it. Pretty sure I told him just to score goals. I said, score goals, buddy. Just get it done. So I think his goal was to score 20 goals, and he's already almost at that in 17 games. So we'll see if he can keep that up. Let's get a couple more months into the season. I did jumble the lines up a bit for our NHL squad. I'll show you guys real quick just what we're working with now, just because we had some disappointing guys on the squad. So we got Huberdeau, who we put back up into the top line, but he's having a terrible season right now. Only 8 points and a -2. I did have him centering the third line, but Jamie Ben's just taking way too many penalty minutes right now to play on that first line, so I bumped him down to third line center because he does have 86 faceoffs, even though he's not listed as a center. For now, we moved Peltier and Kako down to the fourth line to see what Dewar and Hunt can do possibly there to get us closer to being that playoff team. Coronado still on the second line. Did mess around with him on the first line for a little bit. And defensively, we really haven't changed anything. We see some guys starting to regress back down, which is disappointing. But hopefully, as the season goes on, they can grow a little bit more. Harley get up to a 90. Uyghur maybe get up a little bit more. Let's take a look at goaltending as well. Wolf, not having a bad season right now, 10 wins, but it looks like Hellberg 1-5 right now, 3-1-4 goals against, so a little bit disappointing, but is to be expected with a younger defensive group. So let's see, let's go a couple more months and see if we can find ourselves in a playoff spot. Damn, and I was so ready to show you guys how good we were doing after a couple months here. We're 4 months into the season now. Another 2 months in, and we were doing so good. We were third in our division, playing well, had a nice little points lead on everybody. Now we're down 1 point from that third wild card, or for that third spot in the division. We're down quite a bit from the wild card spot, but we lost our last 8 games, which is absolutely devastating, because I was excited to come in here and show you guys just what this team was doing. Let's take a look at the stats, because we do have some impressive numbers, but I don't know, maybe after this streak, because we did have a ton of goals put up on us in a couple of these games. We lost them all outright too, which absolutely sucks. So let's go take a look at the stats and see how everybody lines up. Azim Kadri having another insane season, point per game almost right now. He's 89 overall, which is a little disappointing that he has dropped, but his stats still look great. We'll keep an eye on him though and see if that potential starts to fall a little bit. Sharon Govich having a good season, +6 as well. Jamie Benn is looking like a good acquisition too down there on that third line, putting up a lot of points for us. Connor Zary having himself a solid year, -8. Coronado -14, only 12 goals so far, which is a bit disappointing. Maybe we'll move him down and see if maybe playing a little bit less minutes helps him out a little bit more. Mackenzie Uyghur +10, 28 points for him there. I believe too, Capo Caco, yeah, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points, playing on the fourth line. Can't complain about that. I believe he's on second power play right now. Thomas Harley, our Lord and Savior, +13. Before I had that big stretch of games that we lost the 8 in a row, he was sitting at like +23, so disappointing to see him drop as far as he has, but hopefully we can pick it up a little bit more. Dryden Hunt's actually not having a bad season as well down there on the fourth line. He's been split in time as well. Nemela, 15 points. We'd like to see him produce a little bit more as a offensive defenseman, but maybe we'll see if we can maybe bump him up a line. Move Ball down a little bit because he seems to be struggling, defensive defenseman, so it is what it is. And then Brustowicz here, 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points, but a +1, so he's not doing terrible. Our boy down in the AHL, Fred Connor, though, 69 nice overall. So he's bumped up to already 23 goals in 38 games played. You'll see that shooting percentage has come back down to earth a little bit, but he is shooting the shit out of that puck. One thing I did notice, though, is our plus minuses are horrible. I'm wondering if that's just because our goaltending is not very good in the AHL, so hopefully our 2 medium elites can get ready sooner rather than later, or we might have to go out and find somebody who can goaltend down in the AHL, because I don't want to be killing a lot of guys' developments just because our goaltending is so bad. One guy, Hanzik, he's a little bit disappointing right now, only 17 points. He's playing first-line minutes with Fred Connor. We bumped him down to the second line for Barlow. So hopefully he can start tearing it up a little bit more, because I don't want his development to get stunted. See, Barlow's playing pretty well as Klapka. 6'8", Adam Klapka, bottom 6 potential. So he's the guy I'd like to see possibly grow to become an NHL ready player. But with that defensive and offensive awareness, it's going to be tough. I can't believe he's 76 overall with that low of awarenesses. But so far, I mean, he's putting up points right now playing with Fred Connor, keeping him nice and safe. That is our future. We got to hope that he keeps putting up numbers. But other than that, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully we can overcome this 8-game losing streak right now. Let's go another couple months into the season and see where we sit. All right, so here we sit at the trade deadline, 29, 29, and 5. Not good enough for a playoff spot right now. We're well out of the wild card as well, so I'm going to wave the white flag on this season. Unfortunately, we looked like for a little while we might be able to get there. We started to pick it up a bit after our 9-game losing streak. They're winning a couple in a row before losing 3 in a row, and then 4 out of 5 there. So I'm going to look and see if we can probably move a guy like Cal Palmieri. I think Jamie Benn will hold on to him for the season just so he can, you know, play a good spot for us. Maybe look at moving some other guys as well who are like mid-80s, like the Walker Duer and Braden Hunt as well. So let me hop into the trade, see what we can accomplish there. All right, so Cal Palmieri will be our first order of business here. We're going to be shipping him back for a reunion with the New Jersey Devils, who are vying for a top playoff spot right now with a great record of 35, 18, and 9. He'll be a nice piece for their bottom 6, or if they decide top 6, maybe even a good penalty killer. He's been having a decent season with us, but if we aren't going to make the playoffs, there's really no point for him to be here. So let's see if he can fetch us a second and a 6th rounder for next year. So will the trade go through? It was accepted. Thank you very much, New Jersey Devils. I think that's a fair trade for a player of his caliber. Let's go through and see if we can make any more moves. All right, and I said I was going to hold on to him, but I lied. Jamie Benn with 50% retained. We're going to try to ship him and a 3rd-round pick this year to the Winnipeg Jets so we can have their pick 2 years in a row. They are a very nice team, but we can hope they get bumped in the 1st round to make that pick even better. So can we move up a couple spots? I did try to shop Jamie Benn around a little bit to see if we can maybe get a goaltender for the AHL just for this year. But after looking at Daigle and Ivanovic, Daigle's now a 77 overall. Ivanovic's now a 74, 75, I believe. I didn't really feel like getting that value was going to be worth it. So let's see, 1st round pick for Jamie Benn and a 3rd. Winnipeg Jets, what do you say? Does it tickle your fancy? It does. Okay, so we have moved on from Jamie Benn. We got another 1st round pick to add it to 3 this year. We do also have, like I said, Vegas's pick, so that should be very nice. We have a lot of capital now. Hopefully we can get some of our young guys some more ice time. Let me go change the lines and let's get to the end of the year and see how we did. All right, and here in trade deadline, we did get offered an interesting trade. The Chicago Blackhawks want Jake Bean for 2 seconds, 1 this year, 1 next year, and Soderblom, who would be a nice goalie for us this year in the NHL, maybe next year in the AHL, just because some of our guys still a little bit young. We do have a lot of defensive prospects coming up. It's going to suck to lose a guy like Jake Bean, 86 overall offensive defenseman with some good stats, not putting up insane numbers this year, and he's going to ask for a pretty big pay raise at the end of this season. So I think it best, especially getting Thomas Harley, we're going to give him a nice pay raise at the end of the year. So I think it's best we go ahead and take the picks here from Chicago, see if we can add some more prospects to our roster. It's going to give us 4, I believe, 2nd-round picks in this year's draft. Give us some more prospects for next year's draft as well. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this trade. Thank you very much, Chicago. All right, and after all the moves, I figured I'd show you guys the lines real quick. So offensively, we are pretty bare bones right now. We got our young guys playing some good minutes, though, so it's going to be interesting to see how they grow after this season with the more minutes, especially on defense with Nemela. Not having the best season right now, 7 goals, 13 assists, as I showed before, but hopefully, like I said, some more minutes will do some good for him. We also have Soderblom up here now in the NHL. Hellberg sent down to help out the AHL team, hopefully get themselves into the playoffs. But let's get to the end of the season, see what we're kicking around with. All right, guys, so end of the season here, we finished out 38, 38, and 6, which was surprisingly only 8 points out of a playoff spot. So imagine what could have been if we didn't go on that 9-game losing streak in the middle of the season. Nazem Kadri, almost point per game here, 80 points. I'm not at all disappointed with him. Sharon Govich had a great season as well. Connor Zary, for 24 years of age, 59 points is not too shabby. Jonathan Huberdeau, disappointing as usual after bouncing all over the lineup. Matt Coronado, would have liked to see more goals out of him, and that was really the downfall of this team, I believe. Minus 18 there. Uyghur and Harley, though, were some bright spots, plus 20 with almost 40 points with the two of them. Harley almost with 40, Uyghur with 44. And like I said, goal scoring just wasn't there for us. We just didn't have those one or two guys who were going to put up massive goal totals for us. And as you can see, drops off pretty heavily there with our top guys on the team. Now in the AHL, though, Fred Connor almost put up 40, 36 goals in 68 games for a 70 overall now, medium elite 19-year-old for his first year in the AHL. I'm not upset with that at all. He shot the puck a ton, and then Sam Honzik as well had a very good season too, 76 overall for him. So hopefully he can get up to that point where he can contend for an NHL roster spot next season. Even a guy like Colby Barlow, who's now 75 overall, not a bad season for him either, but it was kind of the same tale as the NHL, just not enough goal scoring throughout these guys. We have a lot of prospects, a lot of young guys down there, but we just weren't able to put the puck in the back of the net enough. Now, thankfully for us, Vegas finished really bad as well. So we're going to have 2 top 8 picks. So 2 chances at that #1 overall for Gavin McKenna, who is medium franchise. But there are a lot of studs in that top end of the draft. And then we're going to find a nice steal in the later half of the draft with that Winnipeg pick. But let's sim up, see what the playoffs look like, and then sim through to see who wins Lord Stanley Cup. All right, check it out. The bottom of the Western Conference, the Dallas Stars, who had the first overall pick in last year's draft, make it back to the playoffs the year after, so very good for them. St. Louis again in the playoffs. Minnesota makes it. Absolutely shocked Chicago didn't make it with the season Connor Bedard had. I think mid-season he was like 40-some points in like 20 games. He was like a 2-point per game player, so they missed the playoffs, which sucks for them. Anaheim able to squeak it in. They did add Claude Giroux in the offseason, so it looks like it was enough to get them into a playoff spot. The defending Cup champion New York Islanders are back, and the Columbus Blue Jackets shock the world, making it into the playoffs there. So let's sim up, see who wins the Stanley Cup. Can the Islanders repeat back-to-back Stanley Cups? And your Stanley Cup champions are the Colorado Avalanche, defeating the New York Rangers in 6 games. Hell of a playoffs there. Columbus makes a little bit of a run, upsetting New Jersey there in the first round and then beating the defending Cup champs, but it was not enough to get by the New York Rangers, who then lost to the Avalanche. Exciting playoffs there. Looks like a, let me see, how many game 7s? 1, 2, 3 game 7. So maybe a little bit disappointing there, but hopefully we can find ourselves in there. If St. Louis is able to make it and Dallas is able to turn it around quickly like that, we should be able to turn it around hopefully quickly, especially with the top picks that we have. We'll take a look at our top at the draft lottery in the next video when we do the entire draft. Let's take a quick peek at the individual awards. Connor McDavid wins the Art Ross and the Hart. James Norris goes to Cale Makar for the 2nd straight year. Kucherov wins the Lady Byng. Will Smith, the Calder Memorial Trophy there for the San Jose Sharks. Nathan McKinnon adds his name to the list with Anders Lee as Conn Smythe winners. Jeremy Swayman gets the Vezina. William M. Jennings goes to Jarrett Stoll. Jarrett Wohl? Jared Wohl? I can't remember. Jarrett Stoll. Blast from the past there. Definitely not who wins the William M. Jennings there. Whoops. Eric Johnson wins the Bill Masterson there with the Philadelphia Flyers. St. Louis's coach wins the Jack Adams. Well-deserved there, sir. Sidney Crosby, back-to-back Selkies. Good to see he's getting some recognition. Ted Lindsay, Connor McDavid, and Maurice Richard. Like I said, Connor Bedard. Let's take a look at the stats that he put up in the regular season. Like I said, it was nuts to not see them in the Stanley Cup final, or in the Stanley Cup playoffs, with the season that he had. 133 points there for Connor McDavid, 64 goals for Connor Bedard, leading the way by far. What is he up to now? He is up to a 96 medium franchise. Let's take a look at those stats. Insane offensive awareness. Got to work on that defensive awareness a little bit, but that shot, the skating, the puck skills, all rounded out, so he should be a beast for years to come. Don't really see any surprises there on the goals list. Let's see the assists. Braden Point with 88, McDavid with 79. I guess Bertuzzi'd be a little bit surprising, but with Connor Bedard there, not really so much. Hyman up there with 72 as well. So like I said, guys, a little bit of a disappointing season for us, especially after our coach thought that we could make the playoffs. Did tear it down, so maybe if we would have kept a lot of those guys on our team, we would have been able to make a push later in the season, but it just was not meant to be. In the next episode, like I said, we'll see where we land in the draft lottery. Hopefully we can get that #1 spot and grab Gavin McKenna to shift our franchise to success. But guys, that's going to be into this one. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts below. Comment your thoughts on the trades that we made throughout the episode. Did you think they were realistic enough? Did you like them? Should we made more moves with some of our prospects maybe that might be falling off a bit? But guys, make sure to subscribe as well for more NHL 25 and gaming content. That's the end of this one. Have a great day. Peace.